Ready to light that fire by doing the things that make you come alive? Welcome to Health Raisers, a podcast for wise women. I'm your host, Dr. Nadine. I left a soul-crushing medical career full of bad news and evolved into a joyful health integration coach, helping hundreds of women find their healthy. You're more than your dress size. Stop putting up with toxic relationships, swallowing your true emotions, and sacrificing your mental health. Stop using your body as a battlefield. You're always giving. You deserve to put yourself first, not just for your sake, but for those you love. Wise women, let's make ourselves a priority right now. It's time to raise some health together. Hello, wise women. Today on Health Raisers, my friend Danielle Todd is here. She is executive director of one of my favorite organizations, Make Food Not Waste. Make Food Not Waste is a Detroit nonprofit focused on reducing food waste and its environmental impact by transforming surplus food into meals for the community, promoting sustainability and food security. They also work on long-term change by supporting cities and institutions. Thank you, Danielle, for being here. I am thrilled to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here too.
I want to learn about how we can be more socially healthy human beings by believing in a mission and acting upon it, which I've seen you do brilliantly. And I know it hasn't been easy. You make it look easy, but I know it's not. So I would love to hear from you how a grassroots movement starts and grows. How do you spread the word? How does that communication become effective to get other people excited about supporting and moving a mission forward?
You know, that's a great question. I don't know that I have the playbook for that. I can only share what's worked in our situation.
Sure.
And maybe some of it will be useful to others. In reflecting on your point about making it look easy, I think actually that's a really important point that gets missed sometimes in work when we're trying to change things. We think that it should be hard, and we expect it to be hard. And when we experience resistance in other people, and when we face those kind of challenges, our instinct is to push harder because we've just been told our whole lives that, change is hard. And if you want to see something happen, you have to really work at it and you have to push. And I used to believe that. And over the course of my career, I had some things that I was really passionate about. And I tried to talk with people about, and it didn't really get traction. And I thought that meant I just needed to push harder. And what I have come to see in this work is that when you are saying something that resonates with the times and with people, and you're saying it in a way that's welcoming and positive, it's actually easy. And, it kind of reminds me too, and I've been married now for 25 years, and people would always say before I got married, and people still say, well, marriage is work. You have to work at marriage. And I have felt that in my marriage as well, that it actually isn't work. So, I think that we sometimes set ourselves up for failure or stress because we go into it expecting a battle, we expecting a fight. There's a lot of a lot of that kind of imagery and conversations with social change about fighting, and certainly with the election this past week, there's so much talk about fighting and resisting and pushing. And my experience has been that doesn't have to be the case. And in fact, when you don't position it as a fight, it's actually not only easier, but quite frankly, more enjoyable. That constant stress and fighting mentality is exhausting, and it can leave you feeling not great inside. And so back to your original question of how to do this work, I think kind of shifting that mindset away from the concept of fighting is what really has helped make this experience for me a lot different.
So what is the framework that you found, the language that has been more inviting and more empowering, if I may?
A lot of a sense of really of happiness, of joy, of excitement for the work. But also based in a competence. So it's not kind of a frivolous, just sort of skipping around saying, oh, everything's great and it's wonderful and you should be excited too. It has to be grounded in a sense of what's the word? It has to be. I guess I already said competent, but it's you need to have substance. I guess that's really the word. But it also needs to be fun. People are drawn to fun. They're drawn to fear and they're drawn to anger, but they're also drawn to fun. And when you can give them a chance to have some fun and to be really excited about something, people do respond well to that. I think what they don't respond well to is a kind of finger wagging and a sort of shame kind of experience. So yeah, you can choose to go the fear route. Certainly that works. We've seen, obviously that draws people. But I feel like it's a lot harder to sustain on you as a person if you're kind of leading that. At least for me, I have felt much more relaxed taking it in a sort of joyous direction and a we can do this positive direction than a negative one.
And now, here's an ad from our sponsor. In the mood for coffee, tea, yummy pastries, or cool swag? My friends at Infusco have got you covered. Infusco Coffee Roasters is a cozy neighborhood coffee joint in Sawyer and St. Joseph, Michigan. Infusco stands for a healthy community. They craft irresistible seasonal drinks, sourcing local artisans' products. The flavors shine from quality ingredients, and their beans are roasted on site. They do not hide behind tons of sugar. Every time I go, I'm greeted by my name with a smile. Bad service is just non-existent. It feels like stepping into a friend's living room. They keep it personal. Old school, eclectic coffee mugs on the wall, fun merch, including stickers designed by artists, t-shirts, and sweatshirts. It's the perfect place to get to know your neighbors and chat with tourists. You will always find people deep in conversation. Special events keep it fresh. Community, health, the heart of Sawyer. That's Infusco. I hope to meet you there.
Are you aware of avoiding being preachy? Because this type of work can very much feel like shoulding on or should not. And I find when I read literature about sustainability, doing good things for our environment, that it can feel very, well, if you don't do this, then you're a bad person. So very preachy.
Yeah, I think women also have to be really careful of that because we sort of can come across as that anyway, mm-hmm. Especially women of a certain age can come across as very scolding. So yeah, anything that smells of I know better than you. Mm-hmm. I have this figured out. You don't, a lack of humility, a certain righteousness, forget it. No one wants that.
That totally makes sense. Within your experience in building Make Food Not Waste, how did you get, how did you find the others who shared your vision, and how did you get them excited? Because I find that as an introvert, it's because I don't necessarily have the ease of what I see in extroverts around me, being able to reach out and find the others a little bit more easily. How does one do that? How does one find maybe the quieter places where people may want to help, but they just don't know how to find you?
Yeah, I struggled with that for a long time because I feel that there are certain weaknesses that I have that have been really hard. They're still hard for me to get over. And when I read books about advice, and I just feel like, oh yeah, like I would love to be able to do that, and it's really, really hard. It's not my nature. It doesn't come easily to me. So some of it is finding what works for you, and everybody has their different strengths, and kind of not necessarily worrying if something works for somebody else that may not work for you. And that's okay. There's not one way to get all of this work done. For me, I would say what worked was I'm genuinely excited about this work. Like I feel it to my core that it excites me. I think about it all the time. I'm energized by it. Mm-hmm. And I think that was contagious. It's still amazing to me to this day where I look around the room and people are going along with it. I think, wait, you guys sure? You sure you want to? You just agree, But I think it is that authenticity, whatever you are, and that's what comes through. And so being true to yourself and what kind of turns you on. If it turns you on, you're going to find other people that it turns on too. Not everybody. There are certainly people that I talk to that just kind of stare at me blankly or blink their eyes, really understand what I'm talking about. And that's okay. It's you don't need everybody. So yeah, I would say it's about really tapping into what makes you excited. And if you're authentically excited, it's contagious. It's kind of like, whenever they talk about when how you can't really fake a smile, because when you're smiling for real, your eyes are part of it. Right. And if you're just trying to pretend that you're smiling, people know, because you just can't. You can't fake, your eyes can't fake it. And I think that's the same in this kind of work too, is that if you genuinely believe it, then other people will see that and they respond to it. People like being around other people that are excited about their work.
What I'm hearing you say is that it does become a team, and you start to rely on one another and pick up on each other's energy. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
For sure.
How does listening come into play? Because communication is not just about a one-way, like a monologue. It is about the team effort and the listening. So how have you dealt with that aspect of communicating with the team to drive the mission forward, to grow the mission?
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that's another area that people struggle with when they're trying to either communicate, or you start with kind of an idea in your head that's really important to you. And then you just kind of bulldoze through, and you just keep saying the same thing, and it kind of goes back to that pushing. But part of what makes things easy is that kind of being open to what feedback you're getting. And I don't mean feedback necessarily, and someone sits you down and says, I'm going to give you some feedback. It's, more so where you're being observant and you're responding to cues that you get. So they may not be verbal. They may not be, it could be cues that you're reading trends in the news. You're responding what's happening in where you live. You're kind of, you're listening for things in conversations that people say and how they respond. You say something and someone lights up, and you're like, okay, that's maybe something here. Let me try that again on somebody else and see if they like that. Or I keep saying this and it's falling flat, and people aren't reacting to it in a way that I would expect or hope. That gets back to that pushing, that, if people aren't responding in a positive way, and you think you just need to say it more
and more loudly,
and chances are that's not going to end well for you.
I want to come back to the idea of fun, because my listeners may not know this, but I was absolutely delighted. I love Chopped. And one of your chefs made it to Chopped quite far. How did that happen?
They called her. They found her and invited her to compete. And we were so excited. She was on the Trash into Treasure episode. And they ran it during April, which is, Earth Day is in April. So that's usually when everyone remembers that we live on a planet. So, yeah, they filmed her in January, and then by April they aired it, and which is also unheard of. But she did so great, and she will say that her work day in, day out, week after week is like being on Chopped. She oversees our 2 kitchens. We get food donated to us every day, every other day. It's random, it's unexpected, it's inconsistent. And she and the chefs look at it and figure out what delicious meal they're going to make out of it. Their creativity and their talent is unreal to me. I just can't believe they do what they do. I thought naively that this is just what chefs do, that all chefs had this talent and creativity. And I have learned that is not the case. Chefs that we work with are amazing. And I think too, what sets them apart is they truly care about the quality of the meals in a way that not in a restaurant you would care because you want your customers to come back, or you want them to feel like they got a lot of value for their money. In our situation, the community is receiving meals at no cost, but still, the meals are just as important. We want to make sure that we're sharing food with people that's delicious and nutritious. And I also thought naively that that's how everyone in the nonprofit space thinks about, because they're serving people and caring for people. And I have also learned that that is not true. So we are quite proud of our chefs and what they do.
So for the audience, can you tell us once more how to find, how to promote this? It's how to find this episode. Can you tell us the chef's name and again, the challenge that she participated in?
Yes. So she was on Food Network's Chopped Trash into Treasure episode. And her name is Chanel, Shanel. Her last name at the time, she has since gotten married, but her last name at the time was DeWalt, which is Dewalt. And she's our culinary director. And yes, please check out the episode. It was very cool.
It was really so much fun. It was so much fun. Do you think there's been any uptick in excitement for Make Food Not Waste ever since that episode?
Unfortunately, I would say no. I think that media is such a funny thing nowadays that there's so much of it and people are so used to consuming it and not reacting to it.
Okay.
I have no doubt that a lot of people saw it, but I don't know that it necessarily moves people to get in touch with us. Maybe back in the day when people would, you would be on TV, it was something really unexpected. But nowadays, I just feel like there's so much media out there that it's like, it just doesn't have that same, we kind of tap into different types of people based on different aspects of our work. So we have a number of people who care very passionately about food security and about food dignity, and people who will come volunteer in the kitchen and who will who really like that aspect of our work. And then we have others who really like the idea of this sort of long-term, more technical work that we're doing, where we're saying that Michigan landfills 2 billion pounds of food a year, and that's unnecessary. And that we have a solution to that. We have a process that we feel that the state should follow, and we're making that happen. So we have people who are really drawn to that side of the work. So, I think we, and then just, there are the home cooks that are interested in learning new skills. And one of the things that I've been trying to do, my husband and I are empty nesters now, and so our food habits have changed dramatically now.
Yes, they do, don't they? Yeah.
And we're like, oh, the grocery bill is much different now. But it's also really interesting to see, I've been challenging myself for the past couple of weeks to see how long I could go without grocery shopping if I just use what's in my freezer in my pantry. Because I don't have to make full, I could make little meals, and I can kind of use up stuff. And my husband's not nearly as sensitive as his teenagers. So that's been fun too. So, I think we're a big tent cause. We have lots of different types of people, but at the end of the day, it's about treating our food with respect, treating our planet with respect, treating people we serve with respect, people who grow our food. And it's easy for different people to plug into that message.
What are some surprising ways that you have found response from members of the community when they come across your work? I have been surprised at the number of people who actually believe that this is important. And I say that because there's so many things that we have been taught that just aren't necessarily true. And one of them is that most people don't want to do anything that's positive for the environment because fill in the blank. It costs money. It isn't easy. They don't care. They have too many other things on their plate.
we have found that to not be the case, which has been really interesting, that whether it's businesses or, restaurant staff or residents, people are like, yeah, I'm totally for not throwing food in the garbage. Just help me do it. And that's been really cool, because it's been like, oh, you mean all these terrible things that we've been told aren't really the case? That's great. So that has been a surprising discovery in this work, to be honest. I think so often there's this message of, well, you just need to make it easy for people. Well,
yes,
we all do a lot of things that aren't easy, and we do it. It's not easy for me to figure out how to put my own sticker on my suitcase when I go to the airport. I do it, because I have to. So now there's a gate agent there that might help me and show me how to do it. There's some instructions on the tag, but it's still awkward. So, it's been fun kind of busting some of these myths that we all just seem to think is the case. And then we're like, no, actually, that's not true. So that's been kind of cool.
So I have a question. As a person who goes out to eat, my husband likes it a lot more than I do, by the way. But when we go out to eat, I'm conscious of not wasting there as well. Mm-hmm. What I'll notice sometimes is the table next to me leaving platefuls of food. There was one time my daughter and I went to breakfast, and we were sitting inside. There was a party of, 4 young women who got up from their table after they were done eating. And I'm talking about plates laden with food. Oh, they took 1 or 2 bites and left the rest. Without sounding preachy, how do we get around being able to go out and enjoy yourself, but also not wasting there?
Well, I would never recommend commenting to the table next to you on what they left behind. Sure. Especially nowadays. I'm a total party pooper when I go places. I mean, people just coming and they're like, oh, great, now I gotta eat everything on my plate. And so you start with yourself, you do what you can, but it needs to be a culture-wide shift. It needs to be a much broader change, because those young women sitting next to you it just doesn't occur to them. They're not doing it on purpose. It just it's never crossed their mind that there's any issue attached to that. And that's a cultural problem. So I think it takes it, this work that we're doing right now in Southeast Michigan is really meant to get at that culture piece. I think a lot of times in food waste work or trying to keep food from going to waste, there's this sense of, well, if only we, let's make sure all the restaurants are donating as much as they can, or let's make sure people are composting, or let's teach people how to use up what's in their home. And that's all important. But unless it's all happening at the same time, it's not really going to move the needle. You need all of that happening, and you need that groundswell of the culture, so that those women that were sitting next to you, not only does the restaurant have reasonable sized portions, or some sort of, the server really offers that. It really says, I have here are a box, brings the boxes to the table, kind of assuming that they will take the leftovers home or something like that. But they've also, they saw it in school when they were growing up, and their parents are talking about it, and there's curbside collection at their home. So they know that's where food scraps go, and there's information where at their workplace, like it's this kind of cultural shift that happens, and that only comes from people seeing that message in multiple spaces in multiple ways. So that's what we're trying to get at in our work. We're really focusing on Southeast Michigan, since that's the most populated part of the state, and that's where most of the food waste occurs, because more people means more waste. And we want to make it immersive. We want to have a culture change so that it's automatic. It just doesn't occur to them to overorder or to leave that food behind.
I like what you said about knowing when to say something and when to hold back as well. That's another really important part, a subtlety in effective communication, I think, is knowing when to hold back and knowing what to say at the right moments, how to say the thing at the right moments. Can you share some possible teachable learning moments when it comes to the right time, right place, right tone?
My default is always to make a joke out of it. The classic is if I have to if I'm giving a talk at a conference and it's during lunch, and I'll say I see that all of you are going to finish everything that's on your plate. It's that kind of thing of just kind of poking fun at it. I think that gets back to how we started the conversation. It's people will laugh along with you and they'll get the message. They're not going to get it if you say to them, you're terrible. You need to eat on your plate. So I would say as a general rule, being, sort of light and cheerful is going to get you farther.
So Danielle, thank you. As we're winding down, are there any final thoughts, any words of wisdom you want to add?
I would say the best thing that you can do is think about how you use food in your own home. The basic trick that we recommend to people, the easy thing to remember, is buy less, eat what you buy, and compost the rest. So following those simple tips and tricks can help you go a long way to using up all the food that you buy.
Terrific. What is your personal definition of what it means to be healthy?
Oh, gosh. What my recommendation to be healthy? I would say, especially with the world and it can feel a little chaotic sometimes, just relax. Remember that history shows us that there are a lot of ups and downs, and this is not the end. So just kind of stay the course.
I love it. That's important for us to hear. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And
thank you.
I had so much fun talking to you as usual.
Oh, I always love talking with you, Nadine. Thank you.
Wise women, move from last place to first place in your life. Stop using your body as a battlefield. Let's raise health together with a customized health plan just for you. Contact me at npkhealthintegration.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.